Hey friends, if you've been looking for a handpan in the last year or so, you've found probably hundreds of makers. So I wanted to do a series of videos talking about some of the makers that I like and some makers that I'm friends with as well that make quality instruments, and maybe talk a little bit about their process, the type of steel they use, and give you a closer listen and a closer approximation to what they sound like. These are just my opinions. Everybody has their own taste, and sort of the benchmarks for quality for instruments is very individual. But all the instruments I'm going to be showing you in the next couple months of me demoing particular scales from makers are people that I trust again. So, alright, today we're going to take a look at the Lunaria scale from Handromeda Handpan. And this was an instrument that is a custom built scale. There's notes on the bottom and top. There are 18 notes. And I designed this scale along with Vitor at Handromeda to have the maximum number of triads and dyads for songwriting. So this scale is very, very much about melody and chord progression. He makes tons of other scales that have nothing to do with the complexity of this one. So this is just one of, a large variety of scales that are available from him. So as for aesthetics, this generation again is raw steel. It's been coated. Uses a special ceramic coating to preserve it from rust. A very sleek, very clean looking instrument with very defined borders. And the notes are very isolated and very visible for players, especially on a darker scale instrument. It's nice to have sort of note visibility. Tone fields, very flat, and super, super clean looking instrument. So this generation of Handromeda Handpan was made from raw steel, and it was coated with a special ceramic coating to help to prevent against rust. Now he's moving more towards stainless. He still is making these as well, but stainless has been his focus recently. So if you were to encounter an instrument from him or order one, it may be from stainless versus this material, but we can still judge the quality of tuning and through the timbre of his tuning style from this instrument. And again, this is a custom scale, has a lot of notes. So I'm going to give you a rundown of the scale and also give you the sound of the individual notes so you can get a flavor for what this sounds like. This is the bottom half. This half isn't necessarily made to play alone, but it complements the top section as well. So one of the things that I noticed in getting to know this scale a couple years ago was how warm it is. Oftentimes raw steel has a brighter character to it. This particular instrument was super warm and mellow sounding, which I like a lot because I like instruments that highlight less of the sort of higher pitch harmonics and kind of land more in the middle, warm, woody sounding area. So this was perfect for my ear. Some people like brighter instruments, and stainless will give you a slightly brighter quality. But this pan has been unbelievably stable in the time that I've had it. I don't retune my instruments very frequently, just because I don't play them very hard. That's a mistake we all make when we get started with handpans or ravs. Everybody approaches them with too much strength at first, so you'll learn to back off as you play. But this can handle a fair amount of force, so you can kind of work with the dynamics well on this instrument. I also like the isolation of the notes. None of these notes are really bleeding into the other ones in a negative way, and it has crosstalk, or sympathetic resonance rather than crosstalk, which I like that a lot. I like when there's a little bit of an activation of other notes that are octaves or fifths of that fundamental. You can hear it on this one a little bit. So for me, this has all the qualities I like in a handpan. I really appreciate the time that Vitor takes to talk to the people that he's working with and create something that fits really what they want. Also, his openness to custom orders is amazing, because there are very few makers that have a not super long waiting list that are willing to work with, you know, crazy 19, 20, 18 note scales and make them sound clean. Because the more notes you add to an instrument, typically the messier it sounds, or the more negative crosstalk there is. So I was unbelievably impressed in trying this. So here's an example of what you can do with a double-sided scale. Again, I designed this one so that I would have sort of ease of playing and also be able to do this when I'm writing songs and have access to both sides. So here is a sample of a song I wrote with it in this direction. Alright, so as for a more typical playing style, here's a song off of my album called Lunaria, which is what this scale is actually named after. Here's something a little bit more chordal. Alright, so the main takeaways with Handromeda, not a lot of finger noise, which I like. Very warm tonal character. Really stable. There's a lot of notes on this instrument and it's still perfectly in tune after a year and a half of having it. Very kind, considerate, and intelligent people that work there. And Vitor is committed to getting you an instrument that's high quality without a crazy price. He's very fair in his pricing. So I 100% recommend Handromeda Handpan. If you have a chance to try one out, I think you'll love it. And again, as for the raw steel, it's probably the best sounding raw steel pan that I've ever played, because it doesn't have that bright character that raw steel often has. It's very warm and woody. So check out Handromeda Handpan and talk to Vitor. And I look forward to showing you some of my other handpans in the near future and kind of talking about the features of those and giving you an idea of how they sound. Good luck, friends, and I will talk to you soon. Stay well.